It's good to see all of you here this morning. Let's light our chalice, Jim.
I have 3 quotes this morning. The first one comes from Neil deGrasse Tyson. He says, "To declare that Earth must be the only planet with life in the universe would be inexcusably big-headed of us." And Dr. Martin Luther King said, "Visitors from outer space would be stupefied at our conduct. They might report home that our planet is inhabited by a race of insane men whose future is bleak and uncertain." My favorite comes from Calvin and Hobbes. I have been accused of being Calvin-like. The surest sign that intelligent life exists elsewhere in the universe is that it has never tried to contact us.
Thank you, Jim. I think we all need that. So sing out, please. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can stay. I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home. Join with me, please, to the work of this fellowship, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action we call community. We dedicate our lives, and these are our offerings. Our responsive reading is number 530, Out of the Stars. Excuse me, whoa. Out of the stars in their flight, out of the dust of eternity, here we have come, stardust and sunlight mingling through time and through space.
Out of the stars have we come, up from time. Out of the stars have we come.
Time out of time before time, in the vastness of space, Earth spun to orbit the sun, Earth with the thunder of mountains, newborn, the boiling of seas.
Earth, born by sun, lit by sunlight, is our
back through all time, mystery rising from rocks and the storm and the sea.
Out of the stars rising from rocks and the sea, kindled by sunlight on earth, a rose light.
Ponder this thing in your heart. Ponder with awe. Out of the sea to the land, out of the shallows came ferns.
Out of the sea to the land, up from darkness to light, rising to walk and to fly, out of the sea to tremble light.
Ponder this thing in your heart. Life up from sea, eyes to behold, throats to sing, mates to love.
Light from the sea, warmed by sun, washed by rain, life from within, giving birth, roses to love.
This is the wonder of time. This is the marvel of space. Out of the stars swung the earth, life upon earth rose to love.
This is the marvel of life, rising to see and to know. Out of your heart, cry wonder, sing that we live.
All right. Thank you. Does anyone have a response to that reading? Something that spoke to you, or give you a few minutes to think about that and share it if you'd like. Notice the words awe and wonder throughout that reading. Awe and wonder. Now I can't recall right off the bat where this sermon title came from. It just popped in my head. And then after it pops into my head, I think, oh my God, what have I done to myself here? Life on other planets. But I think about it, and I think about sort of seeing it as maybe like a metaphor or really a teaser to just kind of make us think about life and think about greater things than ourselves. And again, to create awe and wonder. You know, awe and wonder are the basis, are the source of science, they're the source of art. They're the source of religion. And I think it's important that as we age, we keep wonder alive as best we can. We keep that awe and that wonder, because I think that keeps our minds open to whatever. So anyway, when I think about that title, Life on Other Planets, that's sort of a teaser to help us think about, you know, it really could be a question, is there life on other planets? I love your readings, Jim. I mean, I think we could just kind of call that the message and go home. Great. How many of you remember that it's 1938. Anybody was here born in 1938? Anyway, there was a radio broadcast in 1938. You've probably heard of it. And it was narrated by Orson Welles. I mean, if you've ever heard his voice, you know. And do you remember the name of that broadcast? War of the Worlds. You do remember it. And it was a lot of people tuned in late and they didn't hear the intro that it was said it was just a play, it wasn't for real. Well, a lot of people who tuned in later thought that it was for real. And so there was a little bit of a panic and people were calling the police department. But, you know, there was really a fear. It struck fear in a lot of people that we were being invaded by aliens from another planet. So when we think about life on another planet, we think about us discovering life on another planet, but also there's this notion of the others discovering us, or I like the Calvin and really don't bother about discovering us because there's, that line, beam me up, Scotty, there's no intelligent life here. But anyway, that notion of that idea of life being beyond this world has fascinated humans for a long time. And we all know and have seen how that has inspired books and motion pictures and all sorts of ideas about that life and what kind of life it would be. How many Star Wars fans do we have here? Star Wars fans? Okay. Or how about Star Trek fans? Star Trek fans? We were out on our vacation out west. We went to the Devil's Tower and we stayed in a campground, one of those KOA campgrounds, and that night they had a movie and Ryan went to see it because it was filmed at, part of it was filmed at Devil's Tower in, where was that, Utah? I don't know. Anyway, it was the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You've seen that movie. Anybody else, movies you think of, shows? I remember as a kid watching a TV show, I think it was Outer Limits or Twilight Zone, I don't remember, but anyway, we were visited by, the Earth was visited by this alien from another planet. So, I mean, that thought, that question has really fascinated humans for a long time. And then we all know about the hype over UFOs. How many people have seen UFOs? Anybody ever seen UFOs? Okay.
My daughter did.
Excuse me?
My daughter did.
She did?
Yeah. Television.
And didn't Washington just release some classified information from the Air Force about unidentified objects? So again, I mean, it's just kind of fascination with this notion of life on other planets other than this one. And there's always that question of life on other planets. What do we mean by that? There was that scene in Star Wars where they're all at the bar and there's all these aliens and they're playing music and they're in the bar. Well, there's one critic who said, we always want to think of these aliens as if they look just like us. They have eyes, they sing, they have legs, they walk, they drink, they whatever. We tend to think of life on other planets as somehow looking similar to the life as we know it on this planet. But, I typed into AI and I said, can life exist outside of matter? I asked it that question. Can life exist outside of matter as we know it? And it gave several different answers. One of them was, well, from a philosophical point of view, philosophers talk about consciousness as something that exists outside of matter. So, I mean, if you could, you'd say, well, God is a form of consciousness, doesn't exist in matter. But one of the other things I found fascinating, and I didn't take time to research it, but it said that scientists have discovered this, it's almost like string-like, but they call it a speck of dust. And if you want to research it, you can, but it said it's out of the universe and it mimics life. So we think about life. We think about it from our human biological conception, but maybe there are life forms beyond the wildest imagination. I was sitting out on the front porch this morning early, and the clouds were coming by, and there's a breeze, and I just thought to myself, well, what if the wind was alive? We don't know. There's so much we don't know. There's so much we don't know. And so to me, this question really is a way to open up the imagination. It's a way to kind of try to step out of the world we live in and think, there are other lives and there are other worlds. For me, it's fun to kind of play with that. This world may not be the only world. The way we're living may not be the only way we could be living. So it's kind of a teaser to get us outside of ourselves and think, there's there are things that are so much greater than we are. And every now and then I think it's important just to get outside of this ego, in this ego world, and just imagine what it could be like, I just find a lot of fun in doing that. So nowadays we could ask, is there life on other planets? Well, nowadays we would ask, is there life in other galaxies? To me, a tremendous expansion of our consciousness of the universe. That there are trillions and billions, and beyond our imagination, there are other galaxies with a sun in the middle and planets orbiting. I mean, that blue boat home, we're just a dot. We're a tiny little dot in a vast, infinite space. Now, infinite space, really, that quote at the top of your order service from let me get his name right, Metrodus in 331 said, it's absurd for there to spring into existence only one world in infinite space. Well, infinite space is an oxymoron. Just like eternal time is an oxymoron. And I love what Joseph Campbell says, he said, eternity, time shuts out eternity. Eternity is not time. Eternity is not a long time. And so we apply our words of time to what is no time. We apply in terms of space to what is no space. And that's, to me, that is absolutely mind-boggling to think of infinity and eternity. And I believe that if a human being could think an eternal thought, it would blow the mind. It would literally blow the mind. Because all our thoughts are temporal. They have a beginning, they have an end. So, just to consider the concept of eternity as being no time and infinity being no space, it's really hard to wrap your mind around that. Now, all this talk about the fact that our universe is expanding, I think bears a relationship to the way we think about ourselves. So I say there's a connection between cosmos and psyche. The way we think about our universe and the way we think about ourselves. I think they go hand in hand. And as our sense of the universe expands, then so should our own sense of who we are expand. But that doesn't always happen. And you all know what happened when Copernicus came along and said, in terms of the universe, said, sorry to tell you this, I'm paraphrasing him, but the earth is not the center of the universe. And you all know, I don't have to go over all that history of how the church fought so hard to keep that notion from ever gaining any ground, because it was a direct threat to the way we thought about ourselves. The earth, the center of the universe, God created it, all the universe went around it, and it was the the sun is the center, the earth revolves around it, was extremely difficult for many, many people to accept. And people today still cling to the idea that the story of Genesis is a little truth, and that the earth is a three-layer cake. You've got hell down here, and earth up here, and then heaven up here. And that's basically as far as their consciousness is expanding. We got that done, didn't we?
The Big Bang.
The Big Bang. Yeah, I told that story one time to a Sunday school classroom in the Methodist church. A woman came up to me and said, "It's amazing what God can do with a golf ball." Okay. Anyway, I got off the subject. Where was I? Okay, it was not only, I think it's not only a geocentric world at that time, it was an egocentric world. That the earth was not only the center, but human life was the center around which everything revolved. And that notion was so disturbing to the institution of the church that, people were persecuted for it. People were even executed for proposing that idea. So, again, what I'm saying is our expansion of the universe has a bearing, should have a bearing on our expansion of ourselves and who we are. Who we are. And our place in the cosmos. What is our place in this cosmos? So our view of a heliocentric cosmos revolutionized our idea of who we are and brought into question our belief in the Bible and our belief in the story of Genesis, and for many our belief in a creator God who created it all. There's that verse in Joshua, chapter 10, where the Israelites are battling with Amorites. And somewhere in that chapter it says, so that the Israelites could win the war, God wanted the daylight to stay a little bit longer, so he made the sun stand still. Well, that was one of the verses that really was brought out in this whole debate about, wait a minute, the sun is always standing still. God didn't make it stand still. It's always standing still. And it's we who are moving. It's still hard for me to say the sun is setting. Oh, it's not. We're turning. We're turning. There's a documentary by the name of Cosmic Voyage, narrated by Morgan Freeman. Has anybody seen that? A Cosmic Voyage, narrated by Morgan Freeman. It was put out in 1996. If you ever get a chance to see that documentary, please watch it. It uses the powers of 10, first of all, to move out from Venice, Italy, powers of 10, and it's moving further and further and further out into outer space as far as we go into the edge of the known universe. And it looks at what's going on out there with the galaxies and the planets orbiting each other, going around and around this core thing, this core sun. And then it reverses. It comes back down, powers of 10, back to Venice, Italy, and it goes within to the human, to what's called the carbon atom and its quarks. And the amazing thing about it is that the two match. They match up. What's going on out there, the furthest edges of the universe, is going on within us. I think that's, ever get a chance to watch it. Cosmic Voyage, narrated by Morgan Freeman. poster above her little room where her desk and stuff. She writes notes on it every now and then. The other day she wrote the note, "What we know is a drop. What we don't know is an ocean." I love it. You know, it's a very humbling thought. What we know is a drop. What we don't know is an ocean. But I love what our visitor said some months ago. Faith. What was his name? Anyway, you may remember who it was when I tell you what he said. He said, "We are not a drop in the ocean. We are an ocean in every drop." We are not, let me paraphrase that. We're not a speck of dust in the universe. We're a universe in every respect. And you know, you're reading, is there life on other planets? Or the reading out of the stars? Well, of course there are, because that's where we came from. We came out of the earth, we're made from the same matter of the earth, but we came from the stars. We came from out there. I love that. I love that passage in Philippians, talking about Jesus. And it said, this is, I think it's Ephesians chapter 7, if you want to prove me, if you want to check up on me. But it says, Jesus descended from heaven and took the form in human likeness. Jesus was an alien. Now listen, Jesus descended from the heavens and took the form of a servant in human likeness. How do we know? You know, and I think the gospel writer said, wait a minute, we can't have that. But he was born of the Virgin Mary. And it was God who did the number. But I mean, I always thought that verse was very interesting. I mean, how do you know I'm not an alien? All right. The idea of, or the thought of life on other planets beyond our galaxy offers us an opportunity to wonder, to imagine, but more than that, to get outside of ourselves for a moment and think about other worlds than our own. We don't need to fly into a rocket into outer space and look back on the earth and see it from outer space. We can use our imagination. There's so much we don't know. And like I said, what we know is a drop, what we don't know is an ocean, but we're an ocean in every drop. I want to end with these words from Albert Einstein. Here's what Einstein had to say. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious.
Is what?
Is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art, all science, and I would add all religion. He or she to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. His, her eyes are closed. So go out tonight and look up at the stars if there are any, and the clouds aren't blocking them. and just stand wrapped in awe and wonder. Thank you. Weave us together. Weave us together. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together. Weave us together, together in love. We are many textures, we are many colors, each one different from the other. But we are entwined with one another in one great tapestry. Weave us together. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together. Weave us together, together in love. We are different instruments playing our own melodies, each one tuning to a different key. But we are all playing in harmony, in one great symphony. Weave us together. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together. Weave us together, together in love. Alone ago, still we did not know our unity, only diversity. Now the Christ in me is the Christ in thee, in one great family. Weave us together. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together. Weave us together, together in love. Any discussion? Anybody have any?
I am fascinated by quantum mechanics. If you want a real lesson in humility, do a deep dive into it, because the concepts are, I cannot wrap my mind around many of them, but it opens all sorts of possibilities, such as multiple universes and stuff. Einstein talked about one of the concepts, he called it spooky action at a distance. And anyway, it's, if you're skeptical about things, go take a look at that, and it'll open up your mind to the possibilities are almost unlimited.
Thank you, Jim. Quantum mechanics. Anita.
You mentioned the concept of consciousness, and I've heard Jim mention that a lot as well. Well, I've started making a foray into the groups that call themselves the NDE and the OBE experiencers, the near-death experiencers and the OBE experiencers. In our language, we might call some of that transcendent experiences or mysticism. But I've talked to a group in Raleigh and a group in Asheville and a group in Virginia Beach. And it was the group in Virginia Beach that has been the most sharing. And they're sharing their Zooms with me. And so last night I sat and listened to one of their recorded Zooms. And they're digging into consciousness. And The evidence that we have that consciousness continues to exist beyond the physical. And they went a lot further with it than I've ever heard, in the sense that even consciousness can take several different forms. But they had a really good speaker, and I did save that Zoom recording, so if some of you are interested in that concept and want to take a deeper dive into it, that would be something that some of us could do in terms of getting together and listening to that Zoom, because I don't think I've ever heard quite the deep dive on it. But I'm, kind of sticking my toe into those groups. And actually, they treat it as their spiritual community. I mean, they have speakers, they have discussions, and then they have potluck afterwards. So it's just, another culture. And I've really enjoyed, because I've kind of hidden those things about myself, because some people will say you're crazy if you have those experiences. But there's evidence that, provides some proof. And for the scientifically trained person in myself who went to college, I need that kind of, evidence as well. When I have that also, then as well as experience, it's much more convincing to me. But I also want to make a comment about the reading that you read. Before I looked over to see that it was under transcendent experiences, I would have guessed that it was a humanist reading. And we had Angel visit us not too long ago, and so it just really says to me, as I already believe, that the two merge. Our intuition, our rationality merge and are integrated at some point. But if anybody else is interested in the stuff that I dabble in terms of consciousness and would like to hear that particular Zoom at some point, I'd be happy to get together and do that, because it was really intriguing.
Thank you, Anita. Right behind you, Anita, Joel.
I'm Joel. So you asked the AI if life can exist outside matter. And I have a degree in physics. And kind of a more recent discovery in physics, since I got my degree. Back in my degree, the universe only existed, was made up of matter and energy. That was the whole universe, right? Since then, it turns out that all matter and energy only makes up 5% of the universe. And that's basically all the stuff that we know about. And then, matter, is about somewhere in there, maybe so we call it 2.5% of the known universe, right? We'll call that half of that. And then, 28% is something called dark matter. That is this mysterious thing. It can go right through matter and come out the other side and not bump into it. Anything like that. It won't interact with light or electromagnetic. And the only force that it interacts with is gravity. It has its own gravitational pull on matter and other dark matter and stuff like that. So it seems to have mass, but it won't bump into matter.
Interesting.
And is there dark matter life? The only thing we know about it is that it interacts with gravity. And it makes up a lot more of the universe than matter does. And we don't know anything about it. And then there's this other thing I won't get into called dark energy, which makes up 67% of the universe. We know even less about that. So, there's so much we don't know about.
Exactly. Thank you, Joel.
So, yeah, could be.
Yeah. I want to comment. Thank you, Joel. I want to comment on what Ann was saying earlier, because I think for me, my personal experience with all of this is, throughout my life was mainly a journey of overcoming fear. I'm telling you, I was so afraid of what would happen to me if I stopped believing in the Bible I'm serious. I really believed, and I don't know if I picked it up through osmosis or whatever, but, you know, if you don't believe in this, then you can't be that. And so, you know, one of the litmus tests for being a Christian was to believe in the literal creation story. That was a litmus test. And for me, I'll never forget the day, and I've told you all this story before, that a voice in my head said, bury the Bible. And that was a symbolic experience of letting go of the fear of what would happen to me if I did that. So I think this whole journey we're talking about, and what Joel's talking about, what all you talked about, is really a journey of courage as well. To look into outer space, but also, and I think Anita was talking, look into inner space. You know, the oversoul. That there's something greater in me that's greater than me. And if I get caught up in all this stuff out there, all this stuff, I may miss connecting to that deeper part of who I am and what is in me. You know, that to me, the Christ in me greets the Christ in you, that's symbolic of something greater that's not just out there in the universe, it's something greater in ourselves. And I think if we can connect to that, we can live without this fear. But anyway, I don't mean to get carried away again. Let's get back. Thank y'all for sharing. Join with me, please, in extinguishing the flame. We extinguish the flame of this chalice. Let us follow the light of truth until we meet again. Now, if you would just, if you'd like to stand up and join hands and we'll sing the Spirit of Life. And hopefully the leader will remember the words. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all stirrings of compassion, blowing the wind, rising the sea, moving the hand, giving life the shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free, Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Thank you all, and the refreshments are over there.